You're listening to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast with Mike Chappell and Dave Griffiths.
Hey all, welcome to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. I am Dave Griffiths. Thank you for joining us this week as the first week post minicamp is underway here in the NFL true offseason, we'll call it that, as the Colts offseason program has wrapped up. And there are still 5 more weeks to go until the Horseshoes reunite for training camp up in Westfield. That'll be at the end of July. Now, for the next couple weeks, our plan here on the podcast, even though the Colts are gone, there's not a whole lot going on in the NFL world. We didn't want to fully take some weeks off. We want to keep delivering you guys some content. So we're going to be delivering you some interviews that we've done throughout minicamp. That was last week. There were a few less than I expected, to be honest, because the Colts did cancel one of the 3 minicamp practices, decided that they were all done with their off-season program one day early, broke camp, and so just we have some today, we have some next week. Like I said, we're going to focus on head coach and quarterbacks this week, and certainly understandable, as that's where the focus on this offseason should be for the Colts, is the new head coach in Shane Steichen and new quarterback, whether that's going to be week 1 Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson, but of course for the long term will be Anthony Richardson's team, or at least that is the plan from the top down inside the Colts front office. So we will hear from Coach Shane Steichen first, as the Colts broke minicamp this past week.
Looked natural.
He did. He looked natural. You know, we just broke camp. We had a little punt competition with the big guys catching punts. They had to catch 2. We had 6 guys up, and first 2 caught it. I mean, it was too easy. Maybe we should have put it back a little more, but it was fun. Thought it was a good off-season, good start, good foundation of what we're trying to get done here. And then training camp will be here before we know it, and we'll be ready to roll. So with that, I'll take questions.
Shane, what tells you that, that was a good offseason? What as a coach, do you
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that, I was looking for was the chemistry and the energy, you know what I mean, and really just detailing up what we want to get done offensively and defensively, and just attention to detail is a big part of what I believe in. And I thought the guys did that. We had our ups and downs at moments, but again, bouncing back and not making the same mistake twice was big for those guys, but was pleased with where everyone's at.
Pleased with the progress of the young quarterback? I remember it's a snapshot.
Yeah, I am. And, it'll be, obviously we'll get pads on in training camp, to get, the real rush and the real feel and all that stuff. But pleased with where he's at, grasping the offense. And it's day-by-day process, with any player, whether it's quarterback, receiver, tight ends, running backs, DBs, all those different things. But, pleased with where he's at. We've got to keep working, and we'll go from there.
You put him in some different situations between red zone and some of the hurry-up. You feel like, does he kind of embrace the challenge of learning that way?
Yeah, I think so. I think, this week, we installed a lot of things during the offseason. This week, we kind of just put it was all in this week, you know what I mean? It was unscripted periods and just call it periods and going from there. And, stuff that might have not been, scripted over the last, 2 weeks showed up today in the call it period. So it's good to, stress the mind on everybody and see where everyone's at.
What impresses you the most about Gardner and Anthony?
You know what? Gardner's he's a really good leader. Played a lot of football in this league. Just really pleased that, with his mindset and how he attacks every single day. And then obviously, being with Anthony and Anthony seeing how he works, when you have that veteran presence around with a young quarterback, to see that, I always think that helps. But I'm really pleased with both those guys.
Ken, what do you think of the passing offense these last 2 days?
We need to be better there. We definitely need to be better there, and that's stuff we're going to look at, obviously, and we'll continue to improve on that.
Any update on Isaiah?
No. I don't have anything for you.
Shane, when you do get to training camp, just what do you anticipate just from a competitive standpoint in terms of your roster? Like, do you see a competitive roster right now?
I do. I think obviously, once we get into it, looking at things, there's going to be some position battles like there always is in every year and every camp. But, just the intensity, the energy, I want these guys to play with passion, and have a lot of energy. And, that's going to show up when these pads come on and kind of see, who the dogs are, when it comes out. So,
what kind of value does an elite running back add to an offense?
I think, when you got a guy that can, break big runs, you know what I mean? There's guys that can get 3-4 yards a pop, but when you got a guy that can really hit it and, create those explosive in the run game, I think that definitely helps your offense.
I know Gardner and Anthony mentioned yesterday getting together with wideouts.
Yeah.
Throw. Obviously, pretty much every team does.
Yeah.
Does it take on more importance considering their newness and the lack of reps for Pittman and Downs out here?
Yeah, I think with anything, right? You got a new young quarterback, and obviously, and Gardner's new to the system, and not new to the system, but new to the team, and just being around guys. And the more you can, throw with those guys and be around those guys, the better you're going to become as a football team. So the time away from this building that they get together and go do their thing, I think it's definitely going to help.
We did see Jake Witt or Zach Moss the last couple of days. Are they dealing with anything?
Jake Witt's got a little personal deal, and then Zach, he just had a baby.
Hey, congrats there to Zach Moss on having a baby, and congrats to Michael Pittman Jr., who this camp as well, also, or this offseason, I should say as well, had their second child, he and his wife. So something in the water at Colts headquarters. Good for them. But as to Shane Steichen, what he had to say, not a verbose gentleman, as for any of you who have listened to one of his press conferences could quickly tell. This is not Frank Reich. This is not the preacher Frank Reich, who can go on and will go on and on. There's nothing wrong with either of these approaches from my perspective in the media, for crying out loud. Not that my perspective matters at the end of the day. But in this specific case with Shane, being direct, being to the point is a valuable thing, I think, and it can be a valuable thing. So anyway, that's him. That's talking mostly about the offense and the quarterbacks, and that's to be, like I said, to be expected earlier, since so much of this offseason is about finding a new head coach, finding a new quarterback that they, meaning they, the Colts, hope to pair together for the next decade plus. And more questions about the defense, I'm sure, will come. I think a lot of the defense right now, it's hard to really evaluate the defense much at all. You can do some things, at least with the offense, during training camp from our perspective, to be able to watch them during the portions that are open to the media, so we get a little bit more insight as to their ability. But defense with no pass rush, and especially where the Colts are right now with cornerbacks, with guys who are hurt, and Isaiah Rodgers' situation, they've been rotating guys in there that may or may not see the playing field when it comes to the games that matter in September and beyond. So like I said, a lot of questions focusing on offense there for Shane Steichen. It's what he's done in the past, is what he was brought in to do now. It's what he was brought in to do, to develop this next quarterback, whoever it was going to be. Turned out to be Anthony Richardson. And so that's going to be the focus in training camp as well. If any of you do tune into any Colts press conferences or head onto their YouTube site and watch them later, that's what you're going to get a lot of content for, is listening to what he thinks about the quarterbacks. And in the offseason here, this is kind of the base, the foundation that's being laid. We'll get to the semantics and the nitty-gritty and the really good and the really bad, when there is actually really good and really bad to talk about, when you actually go up against another team and you get to see them on the field in that aspect. So I liked also the question that Indy Star's Joel Erickson posted about the value of an elite running back there to Shane Steichen to an offense, because we talked about this the other week right here with Mike Chappell, with Matt Adams on the Colts Blue Zone podcast, that with Jonathan Taylor entering the last year of his contract and running backs around the league, i.e. Josh Jacobs, i.e. Saquon Barkley, i.e. Dalvin Cook, not getting paid this offseason, then what exactly is the value of an elite running back? Obviously, teams, specifically when we're talking about those players, we're talking about three specific teams, but you could make an argument about the entire NFL as well, do not value elite running backs the way elite running backs want to be valued. And certainly not the way running backs were valued 10, 15 years ago, when you had Adrian Peterson, and before that, LaDainian Tomlinson, Priest Holmes, and Marshall Faulk, Frank Gore in his heyday, Curtis Martin. Those types of running backs that was the age of running backs. And even before that in the NFL, when you had guys like Emmitt Smith, Thurman Thomas, obviously NFL teams and offenses were so much more reliant on elite running backs. And that's just not the case anymore. It's about the passing game. It's about moving the ball down the field. It's about having a dynamic quarterback and wide receiving core. And that's what the Colts hope they have with Anthony Richardson for sure. But the question becomes, and Shane Steichen answered it to a point, the value of having an elite running back. And it certainly adds something to an offense. But if you ask NFL head coaches and offensive coordinators across the NFL, what would you rather have, an elite running back or an elite wide receiver? It's more than 2/3 for sure would say elite wide receiver. I would bet 30 out of the 32 at least would say wide receiver over running back, if not all 32, because of just the progression of NFL offenses, I think, over the past decade. So speaking of Jonathan Taylor, we will hear from him next week. He was in a slew of other players, but like I said, we're kind of focusing on quarterbacks this week. Head coach Shane Steichen as well, so we heard from Steichen. We'll get to the next two quarterbacks next. We'll start with the rookie, Anthony Richardson. His first offseason in the NFL now complete. Here is what he had to say at minicamp this past week with the Colts.
Anthony, just what's been your impression so far of this lifestyle, being an NFL quarterback, being in this building, running an offense? How's it been about the kind of what you thought this would be?
I'm just here so I won't get fined. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, I'm kidding. I told my mom I was gonna do that, but it's been everything I dreamed of. It's a lot of work, and when I say a lot of work, I mean a lot of work. Just being in here with the vets, just working, watching them work, and then just trying to find my own routine within everything, and just grind day in, day out. Everything I dreamed of, but it definitely is a lot.
Have things slowed down for you from day one to now? I mean, to where you're just not overwhelmed, or did you ever feel overwhelmed? Have things slowed down for you?
Oh, things are definitely slowed down. It was my first day practicing with the vets. It was way different from rookie minicamp. I just see guys flying around. I pulled the ball on his own read one time, and the end was chasing me. He was like right next to me. I'm like, okay, this is different. So it was definitely going fast, but the next day I noticed some progress, and I was just relaxing and just trusting what I was studying. But it's definitely slowed down for me.
People have been saying that they've seen you coming out of your shell a little bit, getting more comfortable. Are you feeling that now? Is it starting to feel more like home?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The main thing when it comes to that is just finding a routine, finding my place in the building, finding what I need to work on, get advice from the vets, and just understand what they want from me. Sometimes I have to remember that I am a rookie and I don't know everything, and I have to, just trust the process. But it's just a matter of getting information and just being myself and just finding my routine.
How much do you grow from the mistakes that you make? Because now when you go back and watch on tape and you have all the time in the world to study, do you grow a lot from those?
I feel like you have to. This game, margin of error is so small, and playing against pros, so mistakes, you have to limit them. Nobody's perfect. You're going to make mistakes, but you have to learn from mistakes. I'm constantly trying to, get information and learn from my mistakes just so I can, do my job the best I can for the team.
How will you spend the next month and a half before being?
I'll be getting with the receivers, getting with Gardner, trying to get in the building here so I can, just constantly learn information and just build chemistry because the season's right around the corner. It's coming up fast. So I was just trying to get better, master my craft, get in the playbook a lot more, and get chemistry with the receivers a lot more as well.
Talking about the margin for error, how much you learned about the margin for error in the red zone in the NFL, some of those looks when it comes to just how accurate, how precise that can be to score in those situations?
I've learned a lot. First red zone day, I realized how small the windows were and how fast the defense can react to certain things. 1 minute you think, oh, that's an easy touchdown, I got him, and you throw it, it's a little late. DB just reacts to it. So I definitely have realized that the margin of error is definitely small. So it's just a matter of mastering my craft and just being ahead of the defense whenever the time comes.
Kenny Moore's just saying that he's observed you really studying your notes in the morning before meetings and that thing. How have you approached it from that perspective? Because just showing up and doing bare minimum is not enough, right? What have you done there?
For one, my position in the light that I'm in, I can't do the bare minimum. The team will not allow that. I will not allow that for myself. I know GM, coach, the owners definitely don't want that from me. So it's just a matter of me just putting the work in, and I'm not just doing it for show, because I actually want to learn this information, know this information for the team, because I don't want to get thrown out there and I'm lost, and the team's like, why is this dude out there? So I just want to make sure I'm on point with everything and I'm doing my job the best way I can.
Anthony, how are you fitting into Shane's offense?
I'm loving it. day in, day out, I'm studying it, looking at it, asking questions every day, just trying to get advantages, because defenses, I know they're going to prepare for our offense. So I'm just trying to make sure I can do it the best way I can. And when the time does come, we're beating them because they can't stop us.
They had a couple of former greats come back and talk to you all, rookies, last time before pick in particular, Edward James. What would you like to interact with him and picking round?
Whenever any NFL legend, former player, just anybody that has been in this situation comes to speak to you, you always want to listen, open up your ears, because they've been through the process before. Like, we're new to this, and I'm talking about the rookies. We're new. We don't really know much. So getting information from them, especially Hall of Famers, that's something you need to pay attention to, because eventually you want to be in that person's shoes, and they want to win championships and just be the best version of yourself.
Anthony, if you moved here now, is this home now, or are you still need this game still right now your home?
I feel like this is home. I got me a spot. I sleep there, wake up there. So it definitely feels like home. I try to visit Gainesville whenever I can just to see my family, see my friends and stuff. But, this is home, and, I'm trying to make it home forever.
How much have you seen beyond Walgreens at this point?
That is a great question. I did go bowling, and I went to a hibachi spot, but I haven't seen much, Just seen my playbook a lot, and I think that it's going to be like that for a while.
Shane wouldn't say, but did y'all get a rematch in bowling? If so, who won?
Now, okay, he did beat me that one time, but we didn't get a rematch yet. And I'm going to rematch when I bring my ball up here, because I do have a ball, and I didn't have my ball then. And I was used to playing with my ball, so I'm going to get him.
Anthony, when you do look at the playbook, when you do look at it, what excites you about some of the nuances that are in there for you?
I don't know. As a QB, whenever you see deep shots in the playbook, you get excited because you like to throw the ball deep, beat the coverage whenever it does happen. But I just get excited when I'm looking at it in general, because it's all new to me, and I'm like, okay, what's this? Got to ask questions. Coach, how does this relate to this? What happens if they do this? So just getting information and just taking it in, I just love it.
What is Gardner to your development? He was saying, like, you told him after that first day, man, this is fast. So how much has he helped you just adjust to like the NFL?
He's been through it. Sam's been through it. They just helped me stay calm. Because as a rookie, especially QB, it's a lot, and you will see it as too much. And they just helped me, stay sane and just it's all part of the process. We've all been through it. We all want to know everything, but we can't. So it's just a matter of learning and going through those practices where it does seem too fast for me. And I do make mistakes here and there. It's like, okay, I made this mistake because of that, and I have to fix it, in the future.
So how much you try to learn the offense, and how much does it help to have Gardner, who's kind of been in this with Shane already, just as someone who in the room can kind of help you go through it?
It helps a lot because, not only me asking questions to Coach Shane, I can talk to Gardner, I can talk to Sam because he's ran similar offense as well. So just talking to them, they help, simplify it for me. Coach is going to teach it the way he does, and as a QB that's played in the offense, he might see it a little different because he's on the field. So just getting information from Gardner and Sam, is definitely helpful. It keeps me sane.
Nothing you want to be the starting quarterback here. I know, whatever happens. But what do you think will be the determining factor in you getting that opportunity at some point? What do you think is going to get you there specifically?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I guess it's whenever Coach Steichen feels like I'm ready, to be out there. He's confident that I know the stuff, confident that I can lead the team, and confident that I can win NFL games. So it's just a matter of him, feeling like I'm ready or not, and just me trying to make strides every day.
And how do you find that balance between, giving yourself grace for the things you don't know, but also, that competitive fire where it's like, now I want to know it tomorrow? How do you find that balance?
And I talk to Coach Jim Bob, Coach Cam, and Coach Steichen about it all the time. I ask them, am I good? Am I behind on anything? I just have to remember that I'm a rookie, I want to learn everything. I want to know everything, right now. And I tell them, I want to know everything, but I can't because I haven't seen everything. I haven't even played my first game yet. So it's just a matter of remembering that I'm a rookie, but also just, making sure that I can be the best rookie there is. So that's really it.
Anthony, on the outside, so many people want to talk about like your athleticism as a quarterback, upside, your arm, but I guess in time, what do you hope people will think about when they think about you?
Hopefully, I just think they think that I'm a great quarterback, despite, all the things I can do physically. God blessed me with that, and I'm thankful. But, the game isn't always physical. Like I said earlier, playing against pros, those guys are, physically gifted as well. Everybody's running 4.4s, 4.5s, 4.6s. So just because I'm fast doesn't mean, I can just run around people because they're fast as well. So I just want to, get mentally better, every day and go out there and play quarterback and not just be, a freak athlete that knows how to throw the ball far.
And that's the key, right? Mental development in your rookie. He doesn't need to physically develop anymore. He's physically as good as you can get right now. Obviously, if you're talking about physical tools like accuracy, that's different. I'm talking about physical tools like athletic ability. You're not going to be a better quarterback if you look at physical tools specifically. And the NFL Combine proved that. We talked about that here on the podcast before with talking about RAS scores. How Anthony Richardson has scored higher than any quarterback who ever tested at the NFL Combine. There are zero worries about his physical tools. If a quarterback can evade a pass rush, it's going to be him that does it. If a quarterback can physically make a throw, have the physical capability to do so, he does, above or at the same level as absolutely everyone else in the NFL right now. It's about mental development. It's about getting used to the NFL. It's about knowing that in the red zone, those windows are smaller. It's about knowing how to attack this specific defense that you're facing. It's about knowing when to check down, all those things that go into how well a rookie quarterback, and beyond that, building on those bare bones basic principles of quarterback and go on into the future. Peyton Manning, looking back at what he did as a rookie, he failed a lot. I mean, he still holds the NFL rookie record for interceptions in a season. So he failed a lot as a rookie, and it helped him succeed later because you take all those experiences, you learn from them, and then you build on them. And you can't be afraid of failure. And it doesn't sound like Anthony Richardson is by any metric at all. It's just a matter of how much he's going to fail this year and how much he's going to succeed, because there's going to be both of them for sure. And as a rookie, you would expect the failures to outweigh the successes, and that's, like I said, to be expected. You're not expecting him to come in and be Peyton Manning in year 2 or 3. You would love for him, I think, to be Peyton Manning in year 1. That would make sense to me. But yeah, that was Richardson. You hear him a little bit more coming out of his shell. He's a friendly guy by nature. He's a mellow guy at the same time by nature. Low key. It's just different from other quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers, who was here a couple years ago. Who that was 2020, which was obviously a unique year for everyone. But even just talking to Phillip Rivers on Zoom, you didn't have to be in the same room as him to realize how intense he was and how on it he was and jacked up at times he was. Anthony Richardson does not appear to have an ounce of that, at least when he's off the field speaking with us. On the field, different story, electric player. But like I said, if you're an Anthony Richardson coming out of your shell, that doesn't mean you're going to all of a sudden be amped up, jacked up, rah-rah guy. It's a different type of coming out of a shell, just to be more comfortable around players, the teammates, coaches, and all that. And if you're a Colts fan, hopefully it means that you're more comfortable with everything going on around you, with the playbook, with what you're expected to do, with what is expected of you on this specific play, on the next specific play, all that stuff. So yeah. Let's. You can follow us on Twitter at Colts Blue Zone Podcast, at Colts Blue Zone rather, for news and notes throughout the week from the Colts. Mike Chappell is at mchappell51. I know he's taking some time off over these next couple weeks to get set for training camp. Matt Adams, our producer, at Statomatty. I'm at Dave G _sports. And so that was Anthony Richardson, the Colts rookie quarterback. Let's move on to Gardner Minshew, brought in this offseason as someone who knows Shane Steichen's offense, who worked with him in Philadelphia over the past 2 years, and at least right now is taking the first team reps at Colts offseason minicamp and anticipate the same for training camp. But anyway, here is Gardner Minshew.
So he was just talking about how Shane has kind of, you've known longer than most of these guys, but he's kind of started to instill his culture. You mentioned accountability a lot, and how that allows leaders to also be able to hold people accountable. Can you speak to that at all, and just kind of how that has played out?
Yeah, man, it's been cool to see Shane's, personality come out, and how he installs the program and how he builds everything. And accountability is a big part. He's going to be hard on the coaches. He's going to be hard on the leaders. So that way, that all trickles down. If you can be hard on your, best players, then you can be hard on everybody. And luckily, I think we have a good group of guys that, don't have an ego and are okay getting coached and getting better and admitting that when we're wrong.
How does he balance that, right? Because you can't be that guy all the time, right? So how does he kind of counter that at times?
Yeah. Well, it's not a personal thing. Like, what you do as a football player isn't you. It's just what you're doing. So, if you mess up a route, it's not because you're a bad guy or you didn't want to. Hey, we're just going to fix it and get it right next time, So I think, it's just kind of how you frame it.
What do you think different about Shane you noticed as a head coach compared to just what you knew as an offensive coordinator?
Not really, which is a great thing. He's staying true to who he is, staying true to his values. It's cool to see some of the, differences come out. You can see his personality and the things that he really believes in, come out. But, yeah, it's been cool to see how consistent he is.
Gardner, how do you like to spend this next month and a half when you guys are away from the facility when you ran about the training?
Yeah, I'll take about a week off, go home, see everybody, and then be down in Florida just training, getting ready to go, pretty much until it's time.
Will you try to throw some of the guys in between now and then?
Yeah, I think we're actually going to have a decent amount of guys down there, so it might be a good central location to round everybody up. We've been talking a little bit about that, probably get with Anthony and figure out, a good way to do that.
Gardner, for you, what's the balance between competing and also knowing that you have Anthony and maybe trying to help him along the way? What's kind of the give and take, the balance of doing both at the same time?
Yeah, well, my performance doesn't really have anything to do with his performance. I can go out there and be great, it's not going to affect him. He can go out there and be great, it's not going to affect me. So I think our whole room is just pushing to be the best that we can be, and in that way serve the team the best we can.
How would you describe the relationship that you all have kind of developed over the last few weeks? Saw some high fives and things like that, and it seems like you're his biggest cheerleader when we're out there throwing these points.
No, I think it's been great, man. I think you see it on film. Anytime somebody has a big play, the other quarterbacks behind are going crazy. And, I think it's been a lot of good energy, a lot of camaraderie being built, a lot of high fives and smiles, So I think those are all things, when times get tough, you got to be able to rely on those strong relationships, and it's good to see those getting built.
Does he take a certain type of makeup of the guys in that room for it to play out that way?
For sure. I think in any room, but especially in quarterback, you got one guy that's going to be out there. And at the end of the day, whoever's out there, you got to support him, and that's how we're going to win, is through whoever's out there. So trying to help in any way you can, whether you're out there or not.
Have you seen from your perspective, working around him, has these things sort of settled down for him? Is he still, he's still new, but he's still in the where it's easier for him, more comfortable?
Yeah, no, it's funny, man. I remember coming off the first day, he's like, man, that's fast. We're yeah, it's only going to get slower though, So it's been cool to see him. He studies hard, he picks it up, he wants to learn. So he's been doing a great job there, and he has been improving steadily, and I think he'll continue to.
Along with that support and the relationship that you guys have, it looks like it's pretty competitive in the girls too. You guys are pushing each other that way as well?
For sure. I mean, the only way to get better is, to push each other and to, try to be the best you can. And having somebody right next to you, kind of, naturally picks that up a little bit. So it's been fun, man. I think we got a good group and look forward to continue working with them.
You talked about just kind of more about your own performance to a great extent, but can you take some joy in watching the young quarterback, make a big play or figure something out, and see that development there over time?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's awesome, kind of first time kind of being the older guy, it's a little bit different. So, it's cool to be able to help and, wherever I can, helping him, and to see the things that he's picking up, it's exciting, man, because I remember, kind of doing the same stuff and remember how hard, but also how fun it is, when that starts clicking. So it's been a cool to kind of see that part.
Shane mentioned last week that one of the biggest learning curves for young quarterbacks is the red zone in the NFL. How have you seen Anthony Richardson kind of attack that side of it, make mistakes, learn from it, and just realize maybe how accurate and dense everything is when you get down?
Yeah, the windows are certainly tighter down there, but also, you don't have to force it. A lot of times, the little low completions are good things. Checking the ball down is a good thing. So, I think every time we step out there, picking up things, and I think he does a good job of taking, the meeting room out to the field.
Gardner, how would you describe the philosophy of this offense and what you guys want to accomplish?
I think we kind of take what the defense gives us. I think we do a lot of things off complementary looks. Our staple plays, having a twist or a wrinkle off those, having different motions and formations to set up, same play that we're pretty good at. That's kind of the general idea.
Do a couple more. When you first got to Philadelphia, the Eagles were coming off of a rough season, new coach, somewhat kind of similar to here. What do you think you learned in Philly about, the way you guys, like what you guys take away from there that can take you up quicker? Because you guys got a lot better for the test.
I think we were super process-driven in Philly. That was one thing Coach Sirianni was all about. He loves his plants and how the plants grow, And but there's a lot of truth in that. We were just taking one step at a time. I think a lot of people don't realize. I think we were like 2-5 that first year and kind of turned it around when we got to the playoffs. And the whole thing was just don't look up. Keep doing the things that we need to do, the things that we know work. So I think you just stick to that and trust in your process, and I'll get you where you need to go.
Gardner, you've obviously played for Shane when he's called plays for you in games. How would you describe him as a play caller in your year on game day?
Yeah, I think Shane has a great feel for the game. Has a great feel for when to speed it up, when to slow it down, when to get different guys involved. Does a great job communicating with the guy that's in there. And he's played the position, played quarterback, so can kind of see it from our eyes too. So he's a lot of fun to play for.
It's been your impression of Minshew.who. I know you knew him a little bit, but now seeing him kind of run the whole offense.
Yeah, Minshew.who's been great, man. I had the previous experience with him in Philly. Obviously saw everything he did in Jacksonville this year. He's been awesome, man. It's been a great room between Shane, Minshew, and Cam Turner, our quarterback coach. It's been a lot of fun just kind of talking through ball, figuring out, what we're going to try to be as an offense. It's been great.
Yeah, don't forget about Cam Turner there. Obviously focused on Shane Steichen as an offensive-minded coach, and then you throw in Minshew.who there for the as an offensive coordinator too. But it's really a three-headed hydra or whatever that is the that has the task of developing Anthony Richardson. It is Steichen, obviously. It is Cooter, obviously, and it is Cam Turner, who, if you are unaware, was the quarterback coach and had some different roles, but always dealing with quarterbacks, passing game out in Arizona for the past couple years, bringing Kyler Murray into the NFL. And for the couple years, looked great in doing so. Murray had 2 Pro Bowls before the disaster that was last year. That had, I'm sure, many factors to it, but I'm sure Turner would be not pleased with how things turned out in that next year. But can't argue that he played a role in the years 2 and 3 that were Pro Bowl years for Kyler Murray, and year 1 was the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year as well. So has some experience developing a young, uber athletic quarterback. But anyway, more about Gardner Minshew. He's QB1 right now, and that's to be expected, I think, from the offseason program. That you brought him in specifically for that reason, to be there until Anthony Richardson is ready. And you're not going to know if he's ready, Richardson is or not, until he starts seeing opposing defenses and is playing in preseason situations and sees live rush and all that. So Gardner Minshew is getting ready to start game 1. I'm not saying he's going to start game 1. I'm saying that no decision has been made. But right now, he is exactly where you would expect him to be, on top of the depth chart, with Anthony Richardson right behind him, and sharing the number 1 reps to get Richardson as ready as possible and to give him as much a chance as possible of being QB1 on day one of the regular season, but also giving Minshew as many reps there as possible so he is ready to be QB1 on day one of the regular season. So Minshew, I think personality-wise, seems pretty similar to Richardson. They're both mellow guys. They're both friendly guys. They're both more low-key than, like I said earlier, the more amped up style that Phillip Rivers was, or even Matt Ryan was. That was kind of, I don't want to say on edge because I think that's wrong. It's not quite there, but it's on point might be a better way to describe those guys. And then that in some aspects, I guess, is a good way to describe it. But Richardson and Minshew, they seem to be similar in that vein. And Minshew, to his credit, answers a lot of questions about Anthony Richardson and is great in doing so. And what that says is there appears to be no bitterness at all for him for his role. I mean, Minshew comes in to the NFL and surprisingly gets more play than you thought as a rookie because of Nick Foles' injury in Jacksonville and does fairly well. And he's obviously had some ups and downs since then in his career. I'm sure he'd love to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, but he knows his role here. When he was brought in, he knew exactly what was going to be asked for him, and there has been no indication that he has, like I said, any bitterness toward this role at all, because he will answer question after question about Richardson and mix in a few about him, of course, as well. We'll probably ask him more as it gets closer to game one if it is more and more apparent that he will be starting game one. But nevertheless, the future Indianapolis hopes, the front office hopes, is not him. And he seems to be okay with that here right now, which is encouraging for just you have obviously the development of your quarterback and also for the locker room as a whole, that those guys are on the same page as to what is expected of them and what they all hope for as this next season approaches. All right, that'll wrap us up for this Colts Blue Zone podcast. Next week, we will hear from a slew of players. Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., both entering the last years of their contracts with the Colts. Also, second-year man Alec Pierce out at wideout. Ryan Kelly and Kenny Moore, who returned to the team after there was some thought that maybe they would be traded away this offseason if the Colts were more going along a full reset mode. And then also Zaire Franklin, the captain of the team the past couple years from special teams to defense. And we will hear more from the Syracuse product. Had to sneak that in before we wrap things up. But we will, like I said, be kind of out of the studio for a little while. Mike Chappell and Matt Adams will be off the pod for a bit. But this week, next week, some sound from minicamp, and then we will reconvene once again as we get closer and closer to the regular season. So I'm Dave Griffiths. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Colts Blue Zone Podcast.